Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dev Diary. And wow, according to Google, it has been like 10 years since Flappy Bird was most relevant in the social zeitgeist. So let's return to a simpler time, to just go crazy and make a new version of Flappy Bird. But before we do, if you're all about that crazy, remember to leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and also make sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. So let's just get right into things. My variation on Flappy Bird, which I call a punished penguin. Instead of flapping, our flightless bird rocket jumps in order to propel themselves in any which direction that they choose. And using said method of propulsion, players must navigate a never-ending onslaught of oncoming pipes that appear above and below, aka Flappy Bird in a nutshell. But there's an added twist to this gameplay, because what's a rocket launcher without anything to shoot at, right? And I mean, the player can shoot at the pipes, but those are some tough pipes that won't take any such explosive shenanigans. Instead, there's a new danger added to the game in the form of a mysterious orb of doom. This orb creates a deadly laser, making it impossible for the player to proceed. So the only way to avoid such a demise is to hit that orb with a rocket. And this is actually part of a larger design idea. First, pipes are set to spawn in a way that leaves the center space open at all times. And the orb is the reverse of this by spawning directly in that center space. And this forces the player to adapt their trajectories. And what may the player find if they break into these cursed orbs? Ooh, is that a reminder that if you enjoy my content and would like to help me keep making it, consider supporting me on Patreon. Doing so can get you access to exclusive content and downloads, and even early access to the weekly Dev Diary videos before they're released on YouTube. Now, this is where we could have called it a day on the crazy twists to our Flappy Bird game, but there's actually one more twist. Gravity shifts. That's right, the game will choose to either spawn a pipe, spawn an orb, or trigger what I call the Gravitron. When triggered, the Gravitron will switch the gravity to one of 4 cardinal directions. This will alter the direction in which the player begins to fall, once again giving them even more to juggle with. And so, to no one's surprise, despite the cool new twists, all these additions actually made the game extremely stressful and almost not very fun to play. So first, the pipes were spaced out further to give the player more wiggle room. Then the player was given an extra button dedicated to firing a shot in the immediate opposite direction of gravity, effectively giving them a way to play the game more like traditional Flappy Bird. And finally, the most important tweak, the player was confined to the screen, meaning they could no longer fall out of view to their death like they would in Flappy Bird. Instead, if they've got any momentum, the player will bounce off any edges. And while it could be argued that this adds like those, guardrails to prevent gutter balls in bowling, the bounce isn't without its own challenges, because the momentum is maintained on the bounce, meaning players can't accidentally bounce directly into an oncoming danger. And while we're also talking about changes, there is also going to be some bullet time shenanigans. Like, everything is tied to a global timer. However, the idea was nixed because, as far as I'm aware, particles cannot be manipulated in a similar fashion. Still, it's kind of fun to slow the game down and see impending doom in slow motion. Now, to be honest, while this originally started as an absurd remix to Flappy Bird, I actually kind of dig the concept of a game, where your weapon is also your means of transportation, but perhaps in like some type of platformer. Like, it's tough to find new ways to implement features into platforming games, and I'm sure something like this already has been done before, but some kind of mix between this and like a Noida or a Spelunky would be kind of cool, I think. So perhaps we will have to revisit this concept in the future. But in the meantime, do you remember the Flappy Bird craze? And did you partake in it at any point? Also, what do you think of the project? And do you think that the idea has merit outside of being a weird remix of Flappy Bird? As always, I love to hear your thoughts, so be sure to leave them in the comments. And with that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.